I wish you guys the best with your Yum Yum podcast.
Yum, yum.
Hi, Ryan.
Hello, Rachel.
How are you?
Doing fantastic. How about yourself?
I'm pretty darn good.
We have just had a really good number 2 episode of the show we're watching, so I'm feeling great.
I can't even blame you that much because that's a very Killjoys joke.
I didn't write it myself. Michelle Lovaretto came in and she slipped a little note underneath the door, and I grabbed it and I said exactly what it was written on the page. But I'm glad to be back here. But what are we here to do, Rachel, and who are we?
We are here to talk about an episode of science fiction TV. We are Ryan and Rachel, a husband and wife duo that have now been podcasting together for over 5 years.
5-year mission to cover all the sci-fi TV, and we're still plodding along. We're going past that mission now.
Yep. Well, we're gonna re-up for another tour, I think.
Yeah.
And today we are going to be discussing the second episode of the 5th season of Killjoys, which, did you know? You do know, because it reminds you every episode with an ugly logo, that this is a Sci-Fi original show.
What? Are you sure? Are you sure it's a sci-fi original?
Yeah.
I've never noticed that before.
Huh.
It's never
I'll
come
have to
my...
pause on it next time we're doing a reaction.
Could you please?
Which, like, do you, I don't watch the clips. Ryan edits them.
Yes, you can all watch the reactions
so do
we
you
have to these
always
episodes.
keep in your commentary about the Sci-Fi logo?
50-50.
Okay, so sometimes that is behind the paywall of the Patreon.
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct, because we are watching through Killjoys, you for the first time, me as a first-time rewatcher, and we film those amazing reactions. You can find the edited versions on YouTube and the full versions over on Patreon, where you get these episodes early as well, and a whole slew of bonus material. What else is happening on the Patreon right now, Rachel?
We are gearing up to start our series on the Muppet movies.
Those wily Muppets.
Yes. Which I've watched ad hoc.
Oh yeah, there's so many of them. Not every one of them has been seen.
We just finished Tron series.
Yes, going through the Tron movie franchise, which has a great history already with us because we covered Babylon 5, and Tron himself was the lead man. He played Bruce Boxlight. There was John Sheridan.
And
they could have called him.
Londo's in the first one.
Yes, Londo. Peter Jurasik was in the first one. Both of them were there. David Warner, he appeared in B5, and he was in Tron, so you could hear our Tron thoughts. We're going through the Pride and Prejudice series of adaptations.
Yeah.
Like all these different Pride and Prejudice adaptations. There's so much going on.
That feels like a misleading representation because we did series of Pride and Prejudice, but we're also doing a series about Pride and Prejudice adaptations.
Yes,
Feels linguistically confusing.
Jane
'Cause
Austen would be rolling her grave hearing that.
We covered the mini-series.
We covered the movie. We covered the Indian version. Yes, we've done so much.
We even covered a live theatre show.
Yeah, that's right. We're really going all out. And we're going all out today with this episode of Killjoys, which itself is going all out. It is quite the wild ride. It is, as you said, the second episode of the 5th and final season. And it's called Blame It on the Rain. And here's my description of this episode. Zeph and Dutch must fight against Old Town to find a cure to save them. Meanwhile, Turin is selling drugs.
I was braced for worse.
There were so many meanwhiles. Meanwhile, someone grabbed Fancy Lee's ass. Who was it? Was it me? Was it you, Rachel? Or was it you, the listeners at home, who can't help themselves but want to grab those buns? They're such delicious buns.
Sexy people have feelings too.
That was my laugh out loud moment of the episode, without a doubt, because Yum Yum, the name of this podcast, came from a very funny moment in Star Trek Discovery, the series that inspired us to podcast in the first place. And we like to look at the humorous moments in any given episode of Killjoys because it's a very silly show, a very funny show, and that was mine. Straight off top. It is the Fancy Lee is here just to be like, hey, this is what he's up to. And there's this whole little bit where Dutch steals his gun and he assumes that it's his fellow company man grabbing his ass. And just this whole back and forth about, hey, you're not my type, and just Fancy Lee correctly saying, that's impossible, I'm everyone's type. And getting slandered and just being so heartbroken. And the thing that makes it is the actor's expression. He does a full lip quiver and pout as he says, hey, sexy people have feelings too. Perfect.
Yeah.
Top tier moment of the show.
Mm-hmm. I've got to give it to Accurate, which is Turin's line.
Mm-hmm. Turin's crazy line.
Because he's a crazy drug dealer. It's fucking beautiful. It's so delightfully dumb in a very Killjoys way.
Oh, it very much is. What is something else that stands out about this series other than its humorous moments?
Well, something that stands out to me is that they started off with a series of nut shots and then they've completely abandoned that. But there's been more of an ebb and flow when it comes to the number of bitches that we get. Like the nut shot desert began and has not ended.
Hey, you got a little bit at the end of last season. It's actually fairly recent that you got a nut shot, so don't whine. It was the penultimate episode.
But it's not like
we're no longer in double.
Numbers
wise, we probably even have. If we count each bowl, we probably even haven't got double-digit amount of bowls that have been hit.
But
let alone the amount of times.
We get bitches, and we got bitches in this episode.
Kind of. So, with the bitch count, we like to be very specific about what bitch we refer to.
Ryan saying we very loosely.
Very me so.
Yes.
I am saddened to say, in my ruling, we only get one bitch. The others are bitching. Or, have a bitch later about this. There is properly one use of, we're going to make that bitch pay. So, although we do get the word bitch a few times, the proper bitchage...
By the bitch count.
By the bitch count rules, and I don't make the rules. I just enforce them.
You made the rules.
No, the dictionary. The dictionary makes the rules. I'm just enforcing.
You caught me up. Expanded the definition.
You caught me up on the linguistics of what I said before, and I'm just enforcing the rules here. I'm just a company man whose ass is too good.
Oh, shut the fuck up!
Not to grab, and. Why?
You just want to compare yourself to Fancy. That was your whole fucking point.
Can I just say this?
What?
Who wouldn't want to compare themselves to Fancy Lee? That's an aspiration. That's an idol right there.
Why'd you grab my ass?
What? I didn't.
Oh, it didn't grab itself.
You're not even my type, man.
I'm everyone's type. It's a curse.
You're kind of an asshole, you know that.
Hey. Sexy people have feelings too.
But Rachel, how about you tell us all who are the people behind this particular episode?
Peter Stebbings is back in the director chair.
This is his final episode of the series. So they really saw something within him. He did, in the first season, Come the Rain, which was a really stylish but deeply character-driven episode. It was a stylish one.
The cinematography in this episode is really banging.
I just wanted to really highlight that as well. When we were viewing this, there was many moments where we took a pause and said, wow, they went out of their way to give us that shot, because a lot of the scenes themselves are pretty basic scenes, but the way
Or
that
could
they're
be
composed,
very dreary. Like, we spend a lot of time in Zeph's bunker.
or in alleyways, or around the Royal, it's all in Old Town primarily. And there was just this one instance that highlights this perfectly, which is it's a shot of Johnny outside sweeping. That's it. That's the shot. But no, that's not the shot at all. The camera is in the gutter, and we see from this very close point of view the bristles of the broomstick being thwacked right near us and then sweeping back in, and we reveal that this is Johnny sweeping. And I thought that was just emblematic of the amount of effort that they put into this episode. Like, for instance, something that also we really liked on a visual level is Davin has to chase Dutch. And instead of it just being she's running and
They're
gunning and doing
playing
flips,
tag.
they're playing tags. Not just they're running through wet alleyways and dark, dreary corners. Instead, what did we get?
We got them running through like laundry and sheets, and they're also encountering like people out living their lives. So there's like it's a very effective way, and it's also a reminder that Old Town is not just a dump, it's a dump that's people's home.
It's something we haven't seen before either. It is a piece of execution done differently to something we have seen, which is a foot chase in Killjoys. And we've seen a foot chase in Old Town many times over, but this simple but very, very clever piece of execution on something we've seen before elevates it. The thing about it too is it's not just, oh, that's neat, they're walking through some sheets, there's a bit of world building or like filling out the sense that this is a real living, breathing place that people are at. There's also a surreal element to it because it's got this almost angelic lighting that is emanating from behind these sheets. It feels ethereal,
But
otherworldly.
it's also very like it's like deliberate as well for the context of that moment, because Dutch is being playful.
Yeah, it was really well done, the direction. They've come to Peter Stebbings a few times in the series, and each time they've brought him in, it's been for these rather surprisingly impactful episodes. Like, yeah, they get him in for a season finale one time, but the other times it's just, hey, we need you for this, we need you for that. And I love, with season 5, they've come back to him, and we'll talk about the writer as well, these steady hands, and said, hey, let's give you the big material, because he got the first 2 episodes. But who was the writer of this second episode?
Probably gonna butcher her name. Nikolai Trabowski.
And
Trabowski.
sure. We've had her a couple of times over, haven't we?
She did The Wolf You Feed back in season 3, which feels like a long time ago now.
One of the standout episodes of the series, dare I say.
What to expect when you're expecting an alien parasite.
And now this episode.
Mm-hmm.
We've said it, now this is her 3rd time, but it's shown to be the case. She's one of the standout writers of the show. I was absolutely floored and stunned by how well executed this was, to the point that you blindsided me when we watched this, where you, at the end of our watch through, said, well, that was a really great second episode. It was so good, I forgot that there was a stigma we have with this series where the second episode is often bad in a season, because this was just so mesmerizing, so dazzling, and her skill at being able to move plot forward so effortlessly was just on full display here. It was really well done.
And it's a step up from Lovretta in the first episode, because she isn't quite so apt at that particular skill.
No, we've had some issues with Lovretta,
Like, she's gotten-
balancing those
She's
things.
gotten much better in our view, but this is even a step or two up from that.
I think what this writer does in particular very well is she understands the complaint we've had with Lovretta scripts and just some scripts in this show, which is actions of characters. The characters, for the majority of this episode, behave and follow through and act upon things that we, the audience, think of these characters to do. While in last episode, for instance, we were just wondering, like, okay, why isn't Dutch doing this with Zeph before doing this with the boys? This episode is like in dialogue with that exact sentiment. It's examining that and going, no, we would do it this way. We would do it this way, and thus we do it that way. So it sounds like I'm pretty high on the episode, but what did you feel about Blame It on the Rain?
Oh, I fucking loved this episode. It was fantastic. It was smooth. It was aligned with the feel of the show, the feel of the characters, even in the way that the characters aren't themselves for a good chunk of this episode. And it is great in many scenes, but also all together. Like, Zeph crying out Pip's name when she is awoken was just perfect. It hurt. It hurt to hear her like that, and it hurt to be reminded of the pain as like an audience member.
This episode was spectacular. I absolutely adored it. And the thing that came to my mind immediately, outside of the things I've already said about how the writing and direction come together and give us something like this, is the handling of tone. This episode is something you can point to and say, you can have some of these most absurd, silly, over-the-top moments and then juxtapose them in the same scene even with some hard-hitting emotional stuff. And it does not feel like a whiplash. It does not feel dissonant, like Killjoys can be guilty of at times, and many other shows can be as well. I always think back to the iconic Yum Yum moment from Star Trek Discovery, in which that moment we make fun of the antagonist of the season running away from two other characters, and those characters saying, let's go get him and make him suffer, and one of them licks their lips and says yum yum. It's so out of nowhere. It just doesn't gel with those characters or the scene they're in, let alone the episode. But Killjoys understands how to thread that needle. This episode very much did. And that was what my big takeaway was. It doesn't feel like the episode itself is wasting time by indulging in just that fun. There's a purpose to it. Even if it's very minor, like how does Dutch get a gun? Oh, she gets it from Fancy Lee. It's still got a purpose to it, while something like that Yum Yum moment there is just fat.
It stood out because all of the parts made each other better. It's greater than the sum of its parts. And it feels like it's been a while since we've been treated to an episode that's fully that. We've had really strong moments, but there's been parts where it's been like it's subtracted or distracted. But it feels like everything in this episode is working together.
And it does have to fulfill some desires and requirements. We were left at the end of last season with this new status quo in which we saw certain characters have been altered and changed. And then the first episode of the season gives us more information, insight, and perspective on that. But it does still have to answer, like, well, what about these characters? What have happened to them, for instance? And it does not feel like a checklist in this episode.
You know, you seem pretty relaxed for a man with a gun on you.
Yeah, well, I've made my peace with this world. This is my time. It's my time. Also, your wife pissed me off. I ain't doing squat to help you two little lovebirds reunite.
So, what is Turin's deal?
Turin is a drug dealer, and it seems like he's not a super successful one, because Dutch manages to rob him very easily.
He's just on a bike.
Yep, in an alley, hasn't got anybody else around. Like, he is very low level drug dealer. He ain't no Eric from The Expanse.
Oh, that's a different level. That's a different level.
Exactly.
So, what did you feel about this reveal for him?
I was like, of course, because we've dealt with drug dealers in Old Town at various points. I wouldn't say a lot, because it just
Comes and goes.
Yeah.
But we've had to deal with drugs being a problem in the universe. Yeah.
him being here and being Dutch's access to these drugs. And it's not that he's just dealing in illicit substances.
Pharmaceutical.
Yes, because Zeph got shot, needs antibiotics.
But you can't just walk into a chemist and be like, give me this, please.
No, and if the lady is continuing to use the company in a similar way, the company and the Nine didn't fully supply Westerly in terms of the medicines that it needed.
No, that was something that they did show in the early days of the series, that Potter really had to work hard to get medicines, and she had to hustle people. She had to inject people with water to threaten them.
Yeah, and that was off-world.
That was
wasn't it?
Yeah, that was at the bazaar. Yeah, the neat little things like that. I mean, Turin being the drug dealer is fantastic. I love the hair. I love how greasy it is. I like how gross he looks. I love his beard. But
And
to see
the different textures.
yeah, to see him, this actor in particular, have the time of his life, not only just being able to play this high energy, but they gave him so many props to play with. He's like drinking from this metal straw, and he's really, really going big with it. And I had a big smile on my face in return. I really liked seeing Turin in this mode. And what did it give you about his character? Like, okay, we've taken the head of the rack, and now he's this street urchin who's seedy on the other side of the law.
But Turin was always not completely on the side of the law.
No, he would break the law to uphold the law. Like that's his frustrating character thing, is like, he's like, damn the rules, I'm here to enforce the rules. Like, I can break them so that I can enforce them.
Yeah, but like, it's like, what is just? If he can justify it as being justice, then it is fine. That's a part of why he could justify to himself the choice to like kill all of those cleansed.
Yeah. Heard them.
Heard them.
He wanted to use them as tools for his
He was
cause.
he was ready to use them as cannon fodder.
Oh yeah.
So it makes sense that he's in this position, and the way that they play with him within that of is just like, well, you owe me payment,
Mm-hmm.
and then
petty.
he accepts payment.
That's the thing, is
By punching Johnny.
yeah, that's the huge thing, is we have inverted him. He was the head of the rack, he's the police chief of the show, and now here he is as the drug lord. He's the guy on the street in the alleyway that has a little henchman with a big gun that then runs away from him, and he's like a loser. He's a huge loser. At the end of last season, he was actually quite a hero. He was really well regarded. We thought positively of him as well. He was having debates with one of the Nine, for Christ's sake. You know, that's at the position he was, and now look at where he is. But then, what's his core character trait that still bleeds through? He's petty.
Mm-hmm.
He's a petty little man. He's a whiner.
Oh,
He's
petulance.
He is so bitter about the world, and I I really appreciated his worldview of not being afraid of anything because he's already accepted his lot in life, so who gives a fuck? And if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out being annoyed by your wife, who I think's a bitch, by the way. And then, as you stated, he will take a payment. Sure, let me punch Johnny. I think that will make me feel better, actually. Just, again, petty, vindictive little man, and yet he's one of our heroes in the show. And you throw him into this context, and you can't help but be proud of him in a weird way. You're like, yeah, you know what? Punch Johnny. He deserves it in a way, because he's been very, very annoying in these episodes, Johnny.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. I am really enjoying how this switch up of our characters is playing out, because it could just be really frustrating, because all of these characters are reset, slate wiped clean, they're at a complete disadvantage, the big bad has won. That does not sound appealing to me as a viewer. It sounds frustrating. But it's working.
The dystopic setting that the lady has enforced is one of making them docile, making them comfortable, making them oblivious to the suffering that they're in.
In a very different way to when the company was like sort of mind controlling, like old
with
town.
the wall.
Yeah,
because both of these are short-term goals, though. Both of these are very short-term goals. Like with the wall, we need to control them so that we could do this with the Holland process, like boom, boom, boom. I thought you were going to say like with the Nine and the company in general with like the systematic oppression, which is different because that's like an ongoing sustained form of oppression. While with this, yeah, the lady may be slipping in how people are still waking up or breaking free or like seeing the outside world in a way.
Yeah,
but it's only
it's
needed for a shorter period of time.
less than a month.
Yeah, less than a month. Now, you had some predictions on what Fancy Lee would be in this universe, and you did not say that he would be the Hills equivalent.
No,
that
I
he
didn't
would be a
think
company
he would
man.
be a company man. Oh, he looks so odd in that uniform. Like, he still looks damn fine, because, like, it's Fancy Lee. But it does feel weird. It's also because he's incidental. Like, it matters because it's fancy. and we know that. But Dutch doesn't even seem to register fully that it is him.
Doesn't seem to care if at the very minimum. Yeah, like...
It's like he has access to a gun.
But like I stated before...
It's a fun choice, though.
Like I stated before, it's not only a fun choice, but it is also one that serves the grander story at large. We, the audience, want to know what is the deal with Fancy. But this episode does not need Fancy Lee to be in the story in a bigger sense.
And they don't shoehorn him in to do that.
No, we've already got enough players. But we want Fancy. They want Fancy too. So what do? Oh, well, at one point or another, Dutch needs a gun. They could have written it as Dutch steals it from Davin. That could have been something easy. You know, like she could have taken a gun from Pre, you know, but instead they give it to Fancy so you can see where he is at, and then they make it a humorous scene. That's all you need. In and out, done. But yet, I will be thinking about this scene at the end of the series because it's... Yeah, it plays to the strengths. And I'll be thinking about this scene at the end of the season because it was very, very funny. Like, it was just, this is how you do this very well. Like, just simple and effective.
It pays attention to the details. And another relatively small moment that it does continue to have consequences in this episode, where they do that with Dutch. Dutch isn't good at the actual, like, traditional princess things. She can't sew. She doesn't even understand how a needle works.
Yeah.
And then that leads to Zeph dealing with basically an open wound still because Dutch just duct tapes her up.
But Dutch is so charming that Zeph has to roll her eyes and go, oh, okay.
I'll still technobabble for you.
I'm dying here, but I'll still technobabble.
I might die.
Yeah, I thought
a
you were...
staph infection.
Yeah, sepsis, yeah. I did... that was a good line of... I thought you were a princess, yes, but not that kind of princess. Definitely not about sewing and all these feminine things. She knew how to play instruments and kill people. That's about it. And even her instrument thing was to kill a person, so that's about it. Like, she's really good at that nasty stuff. And it's also great because in the last episode, Dutch was still in her Yala persona throughout most of it. And it just makes it ever so clear how different that is to the actual Dutch we know. Because in that version, she met the homemaker wife role very, very much so. And even you saw little details like she wasn't the greatest bartender because that's not what she's actually good at. She's actually good at using knives to stab people, not cut lemons.
What's the problem? Besides being prehistoric, I don't know how to sew. I thought you said you were a princess in your old life. Yeah, definitely not that kind of princess.
How did you feel about Zeph in this episode and how they still had her be on the outside for the majority of it, yet she's driving the main story plot?
Yeah, it is an interesting spot to have her in, but it makes sense and it fulfills the need of the episode. Make sure that she's there as needed.
I agree. I think my biggest issue with this episode is just an issue with the genre itself. This episode does it the best one can, but it is a burden on it, which is technobabble, having to explain all of the MacGuffin stuff, having to have Zeph just barf out all of this dialogue and all of this stuff to explain what the big picture storyline is. Like, the lady's doing this thing, and we need to do this thing, and this thing will lead to this thing, and we have to plant bombs here, and I can make a cure in this way. And it's not as if the dialogue itself is atrocious, and the acting is great for it, but unfortunately, in this genre, especially in science fiction, you have to have this exposition done. This is very much a needs of the script have to require this to be here, and it is my big strike against the episode, and it is a large part of it. It isn't just a throwaway detail of the episode is, it has some technobabble. It is a lot of technobabble.
There's a whole central part of this episode with the protein inhibitors.
Yeah. What did you... Okay, you being a first-time watcher especially, tell me what you understood from all of this stuff coming from Zeph. What's the deal here?
Okay, I didn't engage with the techno much of it. I'm like, okay, this lets them break free of the conditioning, but it doesn't stop them from being reconditioned.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's it. That's the point.
Yeah, and how did she figure this out? How does this come to be?
Because she mentioned last episode that the rain must be working with an enzyme because it whatever the lady whatever is in the water that the lady is supplying is doing something to people's bodies. So if you block the body's ability to receive those messages, then you cure the person, but it just stops what's currently in their system, not their body's ability to reject that in the future.
I'm so glad
It doesn't give you antibodies.
I'm so glad to have you here to give us that, because as a viewer, I am very bad at remembering the lead-in. All I remember is the end result when it comes to these types of details in science fiction episodes. Like, I remember, like, this is the end part of it, because the diatribe that you just went through feels like just tedious work to me. It's not exciting. Like, I can see how they've built up to it and that they did set little things up, but it's not a particularly rewarding piece of the episode of like, oh, Zeph figured out this way of blocking it that feels like really clever, and like we follow the journey. It's just very much just like, oh, Zeph just
she's
says
done
this.
it.
Zeph just says this is how it is.
Dutch
And I go, okay,
is
sure.
just like, Zeph, have you done it yet?
Explain it to me in English, Doc. Like that type of
Yes.
storytelling is, but like that's just how that's how it is.
Yeah.
And you have to
sometimes
either
that's
grit and bear
what
it.
is needed.
Yeah, I do think,
It doesn't overstay its welcome. It doesn't introduce too much techno for the babble.
okay, we have the way to block the rain, but also we have to let the audience know that there's the terraforming, what it's in purpose of, and how we can delay it. We can't stop it, but we can delay it, and that also requires more details in regards to the way that we've just been saying. And that one's more engaging because there's a driving force to it. Like, our characters will physically have to go and do things, while the inhibitor is just Zeph off screen makes a doodad that sticks on your neck. There's not a story there.
Yep, and it makes you scream.
And it makes you scream. But the terraforming. Now, the other episode already told us quite a bit about the terraforming, but this episode goes into more emphasis on the purpose that the lady is trying to fulfill. And what is that exactly?
Because she seems to have created creatures, and they need a different kind of atmosphere to survive. And my assumption is that they are her original species.
They suggest that as well.
Yes.
They say that it's her children, or it's her species and she's trying to revive them, and so she needs to alter this planet. But it's not just that. What about the people? What about the people on this moon, I should say? It's not a planet, it's a moon. What about them? Dutch and Zeph have some theories. Workers, research, food, perhaps? Wouldn't want to be there for that dinner. That's what Dutch said. She had a line like that.
Yeah.
What do you make of that as also like endgame big bad plan, plot, deal thing that we have to overcome?
It does feel a little basic. Like, the lady was built up so effectively, and for her weakness to be her loneliness does make a lot of sense.
It's also about like superiority and domination.
Yeah, and
Extermination.
the redundancy of humanity, like humanity being made redundant. And the original fear was that it was going to be the Hullen, and now it is the lady species.
What was so effective about her build-up previously? Like, what did engage you about her?
I think the slow integration of details, and because we didn't know everything, that was way scarier. But now it's like, oh, she has boxes filled with tentacles.
As a big plan for your final season, it makes sense that the home is at threat. Like not just the Quad, not just the J, but specifically Old Town and Westerly is at threat.
It's wound it back in.
And it's no longer just the systematic oppression of human-made constructs. It's no longer just this sci-fi hive
No
mind
longer human
enemy.
on human violence.
Yeah, it's no longer just this hive mind collective thing. It is now the thing that created all of those, is ancient evil. The thing that you could argue started the cycle of violence and oppression that we're in currently. And she is here, and she's this very alien, very abstract threat, but she is going to destroy all that we know for her own means, her own survival, and her whatever, like her own hunger, per se. And that is good and all. Like, that's fine, but I guess I have an issue of the Hullen were just more interesting as an existential sci-fi threat that we had to overcome, because they stripped you of your personhood, but it was still there. Like, there's something uncomfortable deeply about fighting the Hullen because they are still people.
They are still people, but it also taps into that fear of being trapped inside your own body.
And we then make it more complicated when we make someone like Anila, and to an extent Dulcea, more recognizable, more sympathetic, more human in a way, because we get to know them, we get to see them, even though they are Hullen existential bad guys. And then with the lady, for instance, in this episode, she has just little monsters in boxes, and you don't feel, or at least I didn't, any conflicting nature of Dutch joyously setting fire to these things, while in other episodes when Dutch would do something horrific to the enemy like that, there would be a sense of this is wrong because they were people. But when that world of sci-fi and fantasy where these are ghoulish monsters, so you don't have to feel bad about it. I think we also have to give credit to Killjoys as a series in the fact that this is only the second episode of this season where we're exploring this. There is the potential that they make these, and the ladies, well, this monster force much more complex and nuanced, like they did with the Hullen previously, like they did with Anila previously. So
some things take time. That's fair.
We'll have to temper criticism here and see how it pans out over the course of the season. But at this moment in time, there is just odd details, like Dutch setting fire to the babies should be a more horrific image, but it isn't. It's not. You just go, oh yeah, pretty cool. She has a flamethrower in this episode. Neat.
Yeah, it's like she's badass, and then we get the, slightly comedic shot of seeing the guard who's trying not to move because he doesn't want to explode.
But Zeph, if the lady is using Westerly as a little cozy nest for these things, then what are we in the equation?
Lots of possibilities. Workers, research.
Food?
Could be, yeah.
Well, it's a picnic I don't want to sit at.
You had a gripe with the techno babbliness of the stopgap cure.
Yes.
I have a gripe with Dutch being on the run.
We've always had this. This isn't the first time. Remember when Jellicoe put Dutch and the gang as public enemy number 1, and then it didn't really amount to much?
Yeah.
They do it again. What's your issue with it, though? Like, is it just as simple as that?
Yeah, like, it's just dull to me. Partially because it is something that happens all of the fucking time in sci-fi. It has happened a number of times in various combinations in Killjoys.
I think the only time it's really worked in a sci-fi show is Farscape, where they're inherently on the run at all times and they are prisoners on the run. Like, that's probably the only show I can think of.
Yep. And then specifically within this episode at this point with Dutch, I do not feel like she is in danger of being actually caught at all.
Hey, a woman who looks almost identical to her got mistaken for Dutch. And that woman was credited as Not Dutch Woman, which I really enjoyed. And do you want to know what that actress is well known for?
Yeah.
Stunt double. She
sense.
is the stunt double, or one of the stunt doubles for Hannah John-Kamen.
Yeah, makes complete sense.
That scene where they turn her around could have been identical to Spaceballs. You haven't caught her. This is her stunt double. I will give this episode something, though. There's something more personal about this, though, because the people chasing her are the people she wants to save. Not just her friends, not just Pri, not just her boyfriend or lover or partner or whatever Davin is, which they do joke about in this episode, but the citizens of Old Town themselves. She wants to save them. She wants to help them. This isn't like in previous
and that random
scenarios.
one helps her too, and I'm like, that's the lady that just points at the screen like, you're wanted.
She just, and that's what I wanted to highlight. That was a great piece. That was a great piece of, in another version of this episode, everyone's turning on Dutch. Everyone's running after her because they are under the control of the lady more directly, but that's not how this works. And I like that essence of the old towner in this random woman sided with the fugitive on the run rather than the authority. That was so, that was a neat piece of characterization that fits into the grander tapestry of the series. So
it is also convenient, but it works contextually.
I have less of an issue with the Duchess being chased by everyone not being the main thrust of this episode, because we had little moments like that.
I appreciate it not being like, it is the point, but it's not the focus. Like, it's the through line.
Yes.
It's causing things to happen.
It does throw some issues their way, like at the big warehouse set piece at the end where they think they're going to destroy this factory, and we have to incapacitate Pri because he's tracked us, because he's after Dutch. And he's much more bloodthirsty and cold about this process than he was in the first episode. Like, his reawakening has hardened him more than anything else. And so, like, that stuff was interesting. Like, that worked for me, but I can see why this doesn't, because at the end of the other episode, it makes it like, Dutch is all alone and the whole town is against her, and like Zeph is dying, and what's she gonna do?
It's just a coat rack.
Yeah.
It's there to hang things off, but they've got to pretend like it's more than that, like it's an inanimate object, and I'm like,
again, like I think it's a good framework because
it works. It's just a personal preference thing. Like that's all it is. And, it's also a personal preference that I love seeing the Jacobys on a stakeout.
And they're on it because they're both looking for Dutch for different reasons. Both personal reasons, but different reasons. Yeah, the Jacoby brothers, it is a wonderful dynamic. Like, they've always nailed the brotherly bond, and even though they're not aware that they're brothers really in this episode for the majority of the time, they still very much fall into those patterns and those routines.
Yes, the banality of it is something to appreciate, because it taps into something that people with siblings can really understand.
The thing that stood out to me about their plot together is Davin questioning Johnny about what he knows about Yala. He's very much pushing his buttons, trying to really antagonize him, to make him realize in some way, shape, or form that it is not as real as he thinks it is. And this is before Davin has started to twig himself. Like, inherently, he wants to make Johnny question Dutch.
There was a moment that I was like, ooh, I really like this. Because it's a detail that adds to the texture of the world. And it is something that is just said, and it has implications, and the show doesn't go into it. It's just there for you to notice. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I'm curious.
Johnny says we've been married 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
How old is Jack?
16. Yeah, that makes sense. But, like, logistically, their ages, it wouldn't make sense, right?
No, it doesn't.
I think,
Yeah.
well, maybe. I mean, I think Dutch is in her 30s now. I think when we started the show, I think she
they
was
would
like
be-
28.
They would have been very young.
Oh, yeah. Young love.
Very young.
I think something is really interesting here when we look at this being the final season as well. Because oftentimes with a final season, they call back to the first season in lots of ways, which we've already been getting with how people have been swapped around. Like,
Yeah,
we've
they
brought up a lot of
link
old
back in.
characters, like how Hills is now, like Fancy Lee is now the Hills equivalent, right? We've done that. What I really think about in terms of this dynamic is at the beginning of the show, Davin questioned Johnny about Dutch. He wanted to know her background. And the fact that Johnny didn't know lots of information or wasn't willing to give it up wasn't good enough for Davin. And Davin antagonistically was pushing Johnny's buttons, saying that you don't actually know her because you don't know her specific detailed history. And Johnny as a character has often, kind of argued in a way with Davin and others that you don't need to know where a person's been to know a person. And I like that even in this situation that dynamic is still at play between these two brothers.
It's still there. It's still going strong. And they're like a part of what makes this episode fun. And we've kind of talked around this, is the fact that they're being so brotherly while not knowing that they're brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And then the way that it just slips right into gear as soon as they're woken up. And they're being playful with each other, but it's also in this way where it's like, hey, are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. But they're not talking on that level.
There is such an undercurrent in this season that how do you know a person? What is it? Is it just, I know your past, I know your history? The lady thinks that, if I understand your memories, then I understand who you are. But there is much more to it, like you're stating about how even though they don't know that they're brothers, they are still falling into that behavior because inherently something natural within them is making them act that way. And that goes into how Dutch is able to talk to Davin. She can give him all these facts and logic and da-da-da-da-da all she likes, but what she really is doing is telling him that he knows her. He knows her not through what history he can read on his little pad, but he knows her personhood. He knows her essence in a way. Something that's...
It's not just that he is a good killjoy and has a good feel for people. It's that he understands Dutch.
And she knows he won't shoot her. And you and I, when watching
Him
that...
saying she'll run.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
And when we were watching that specific scene where she kisses him and he's dumbfounded afterwards, and you see Luke McFarlane's acting, you see as Davin going through this huge range of emotions, this absolute face journey. It was really good acting on his part. But when we were watching it, we were thinking, oh yeah, he's going to shoot her though. Because you're waiting for that kind of ironic, cynical beat in that moment, but instead it's a sincere moment. It's unironic. It is syrupy, but it's earned because that's what the thematic point of this episode is really getting at, especially in this sci-fi context of their personhoods have been changed, but not really. They haven't been stripped away.
Weirdly an echo and sort of an antithesis in some ways to the Sparks shot of season 2.
I know you. You can't. Look, whoever they told you I am, I'm just trying to do the right thing here.
How's that working out for you?
Not great. You're a killjoy. I'm a bartender. We don't know each other, but you feel like we do. Why?
You have that kind of a face.
The lady is much more interesting when we're talking about what she does impacting the characters in this way than when we actually have to see her on screen or know what her actual big plan is.
When she screams and cries and falls to her knees in the hallway.
It's not as effective as, say, what is the larger ramifications of waking people up from this hypnosis, from this delusion, from this new world that the people have been put in.
Twinge of selfishness of not wanting to wake Zeph up because she doesn't want Zeph to hate her again because of how she was partially responsible for Pip's death.
But also, not just pure selfishness, but like
practicality,
but also just in terms of like the I don't want to do this factor of I just don't want to see this person sad.
Yeah.
Let alone I feel responsible for that.
Yeah.
Like she knows and Zeph doesn't. Like we're instantly talking about like the negative ramifications because the 2 episodes have been so driven, as has Dutch, about the positive. About, oh, I can get my friends back and they can help me fight the evil enemy.
Because we need to save the world.
And we've been shown that for everyone, this is still like some form of suffering for them. Like with Pri and Garrett, for instance, they're not strained relationship.
They're not getting to truly be themselves. They're not getting to be the best version of themselves. They're being limited and constrained.
Repressed.
Yes, by the system.
And they feel the need to put that upon themselves because that's how it is, in quotations. And that's why Dutch feels the need to try and free Johnny and Davin, because she knows that not only are they her team, they're her boys, but they're suffering under the fake life that they're living, even though they think they're happy.
I feel like Johnny is suffering more because Dutch is the one that's awake.
Yes.
Because Johnny now is trying to save a marriage that doesn't exist.
The suffering for Johnny is that he will lose something. He will lose a relationship. He will lose this stability.
He's losing a wife again.
He's losing a wife again. But he is going to be happy, as we see, because his relationship with Dutch is more important than that. Yeah, he's still fulfilled with his relationship with Dutch. He's not actually in love with Dutch. Well, with Davin, see, for him, he gains... I would say
that Johnny is in love with Dutch. It's just not a romantic
Yes, it's not a romantic love. It's a platonic love. It's a friendship. It's like a familial love in a way, in a fashion. Like they are a family.
And I think Johnny has a funny line about that where it feels like weirdly incestuous that Dutch and David have gotten together.
But also that him and Dutch probably are fucked now because they've been married and they've been romantic. Like there's this joke of like, hey, were you married? Did you guys like, hey, you haven't given him the talk? Like, and then we do have the con of waking someone up, which is Zeph. We were complaining last episode, why haven't you done this? Why wouldn't you do this immediately
first? Why are they going in a grey area with this where she is aware of a bunch of things but not fully awoken?
This, and I know that we always talk about the writer, but there is like a writer's room. Like these people sit down, they break down the script, someone edits it,
There's story editors.
There's input from the showrunner and the producers and whatnot. But this does feel like the writer of the previous episode and the one of this did not communicate or did not read one another's stuff, because in this, it very much does feel like Nikolai is coming in saying, oh no, we would do this with Zeph. This is what you would do with Zeph. And it's not as if this is in response to what the other episode didn't do. It is almost like this person is given this scenario and they immediately would be doing what we said you would do with Zeph, which is like, well, if they know so much, why wouldn't you work towards waking them up? that's what you would do. That's how it feels
Yeah.
in this.
It feels a bit like they put the index card of Zeph is woken up in this episode.
Yeah, but Zeph, she wakes up and it's tragic and sad, but there is still some light at the end of that tunnel.
Yeah, she carves a message into herself.
No, I'm talking about that she forgives Dutch.
Yeah.
Because at the end, she does get hit by the rain and she forgets again.
Mm.
She's
Yes.
now a part of the system
but
again.
yeah, she's forgiven Dutch, and because she's now removed enough from the moment that she doesn't need to hold on to that rage.
I would say it's more that rage is now directed at
the lady,
at the new target.
Yeah, like it's rerouted.
Yes,
But
it's
she
not.
doesn't
She hasn't
need-
healed.
Yes, no.
She hasn't reconciled. She's now just aiming her anger at someone else because that someone else is physically here now.
Yeah,
Well, before they were just this idea. So Dutch was the one that you could direct it
yeah,
at.
Dutch was the tangible target.
Does that? This is a sincere question on my part. Does that weaken or, I guess, kind of make more juvenile Zeph's anger?
Yeah, but it always felt a little bit like it felt understandable, but not completely justified. Because it's like, yeah, like it was Dutch's call, but it was also Pip's call.
Yes.
And Dutch copped it, but that was also because she felt guilty. And if Zeph is also angry with her, then it's right that she's guilty.
Yes, that's perfect. I'm glad you said it like that. Just on a visual level, there's something just connective about at the end of the last season, she walks away from Dutch, and in this episode, they literally embrace. That there is just perfect illustration of
we
the
see
story.
Dutch and Johnny be platonically intimate in that way, but Dutch doesn't do that with a lot of people.
Yeah, she's opened up over the course of the series in that way.
Yeah, and I think I was saying in maybe a reaction or our last episode, this experience of having that fake life and returning seems to have softened Dutch in a way that I really wasn't expecting, but feels really genuine. It doesn't feel like, and now Dutch is all better, but it feels like Dutch has accepted that she has a family now that she doesn't have a family.
Dutch's relationship to others has always been a tantalizing thing to think about and discuss because it's so nuanced and multifaceted. There's a way you could describe Dutch as a tomboy character. That she's often written in a way or portrayed in a way
A boy's girl.
Yeah, a boy's girl. Like she's very, she's very masculine in a way, but also she's extremely feminine, and she leans into that and she weaponizes that. But in the earlier seasons, yeah, she didn't open up in this way, and if she did, it was transactional. The way that she would have relationships was transactional, whether it was sex or whether it was business. And that bled into the personal life as well. Only Johnny was the one that she opened up to emotionally speaking and was more vulnerable with it. But we've seen that open up over time. But with Zeph, something that we haven't talked about either is Dutch has hated women so much in the past. Like, she always hated Potter. We never really got to see why, but I think a part of it was they're a woman. And Dutch is not really close to other women in that way, other than what's her name that worked at the bazaar, who she used as as her boss.
Yeah, like growing up in the harem, she was extremely distrustful of other women.
And not only that, but she saw them as victims too often. And she's not a victim, so she in the past hasn't looked upon them as sympathetically as Davin did, for instance, when we had the vessel episode. Like, she's a lot more harsh, but over the course of time, especially with Zeph, that's very much changed. Just her relationship to everyone has changed. But I think that's just something to think about. Of in the early days of the series, we did talk about how Dutch herself has had a very strained relationship with other women.
Even with Lucy.
Yeah.
Do you want to drive? Maybe you'll do as good a job as you did sewing up my wound. Right, you saw that, did you? Oh yeah, it's great. Woman doesn't want an extra pocket. Now I'll never lose my keys. You call me the princess.
Team Awesome Force try to blow up this factory, but they get caught. They are snafu'd. And I liked this. It did not feel like a cop-out. It felt earned in the story.
Natural. Like, it's the natural step in this story.
And just the pacing of the episode
it would
worked.
also feel weird, like... It would feel like they would be nerfing the lady to be like she's so incompetent that they got away with it.
She has a some sort of connection physically and psychically with her offspring.
Yes.
That she felt that they were getting attacked. Like, Dutch got bloodthirsty and it cost them. Mm-hmm. Rather than being effective and tactical, she got bloodthirsty because in the moment she earned a new weapon and she's like, I'll use it now. It wasn't a part of the plan to do that. The plan was to bomb the shit out of this factory.
She didn't want to let them survive.
And in a lesser script, in a lesser episode, that's a negative criticism of Dutch does this bloodthirsty thing that's dumb and reckless and gets them caught. But that's her character, and there is a damning quality to it. She is Klein's daughter, even though, as Klein likes to be told, that's not actually your daughter. But she is in a way. But yeah,
daughter or granddaughter.
Yeah, weird, very weird. So Team Awesome Force gets captured. We'll have to wait and see. But
Pre's with them.
Yes, Pre has been knocked out, and he's with them. He's got his hair. Mm-hmm. Now, there's another side to this episode that we haven't discussed at all. Really, we've made little references to it, but the lady and Klein.
Yeah, the lady swaps out her child's body.
Because it's hard to work with child actors.
Yep.
They have a certain amount of hours you can do.
You commended it for actually showing the child's death on screen.
Yeah, the child's dead body. Bravo. Final season, they're not pulling punches. They're like, yeah, that kid's dead. There's their lifeless eyes looking at you.
That's the cost.
That's the cost. That's the cost. So, the lady changes form. She now is in an adult woman's body. She also has the sci-fi outfit on.
Very childish voice.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it still feels very high and breathy in a sort of way. Like, breathy isn't quite the right word.
So I am ever so, keen and curious to hear your takes on the lady now.
Yeah, I want to like it more. Like, I don't have a problem with it, but I also don't like it that much because it just feels reductive. Because we've had this expansive idea of the lady, this threat that has been built up so long. And now she's here and she wants something concrete. And because we're at the setup phase of this season's threat. So it's just like, and now they've got 27 days to save the atmosphere.
To save Westerly and Old Town. But the lady is now played by an actress. We now have someone who's embodying this role, and that brings other layers to it. Like, the lady has been represented as this nebulous, inhuman threat that we and the characters can imbue intentionality on. But now there's an actual person playing that, and there's an actual need for the script to write a consistent character now, because she talks, she has opinions, she has dialogue, she has things that she says and acts on as well. And I have to say that although I commend the show for previously putting the weight on that for a child to play, I do wag my finger a little bit that they stopped doing that, because I think there is something not only eerie, but very thematically resonant about Klein having to contend with a child, like an actual little girl. And they're the one in charge, and they're the one calling the shots. There's something about that was really potent.
I agree. Like, it would have been really interesting to see that play out, even though there is an element of it's slightly ridiculous. But like, I drew the comparison last episode, and I'll do it again. But like, you know, in Dune, they were also afraid of that.
Yeah,
in
with
different
Aaliyah.
versions with Aaliyah, and it is scarier when it is a child.
Yeah, I mean, child villains and horror things have been a go-to. I mean, Damien was only minorly used in The Omen, and yet it's one of those effective characters, and you remember that shit-eating little face of that kid to this very day.
I don't know how they are going to try and manage to make me feel anything for her, because she's done so much heinous shit.
But also not.
Yeah.
Like, yes, she has, but also we haven't really seen this character do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true. Like, this isn't the face of the person who did those things.
No. But she is petulant. That's the thing you would describe her to be. She screams, she's basically crying, she's threatening.
Tantrums.
She's throwing tantrums. She's trying to threaten Klein with death, and Klein is a man who's already died, and he doesn't give a fuck about being threatened with death. She eventually figures out, I should threaten the people you care about, but we've already had one petulant girl trapped in an adult woman's body type antagonist in the show.
Who has a strained relationship with
Klein. Yeah, and that one is more compelling because, one, you have Hannah John-Kamen hamming it up. It's always fun. Like, that's fun to see, like, fun. But also, again, there's a direct relationship with Klein there. The lady is like the big sci-fi antagonist. Like, she's the thing that created all of the sci-fi technology for those other characters to do nefarious things. And that's, like, fine. It's just not as big and compelling. Like, when I say there's another part of this episode where it's a lady and Klein, there's really not much to say other than, like, the bare bones of, like, yeah, these things happen, because there's not much to really think about with it in comparison to all the other things that we've said. It still works. Like, again, this isn't a big ding on the episode. It's more just like, like, there's less to say about the lady and more to say about Klein.
The other things are a home run.
Yeah. I mean, what I just said is the crazy thing. There's more things to say about the lady in literally the story in the episode that doesn't feature her physically than there is in the plot where she's there in the room. When she's there in the room, the thing that's more interesting to look at and talk about and think about is Klein.
I am it is interesting that it took the lady so long to figure out that she just needed to threaten Dutch. But in a concrete way. Like, it's the fact that she has Dutch. It's not just that I'm saying I'm going after Dutch. It's like, oh, you've actually found her. She's actually in danger. I need to do something about this.
There is a much more emotional portrayal from Rob Stewart with Klein in this season. He is
Yeah, we were talking
much
at the
more
end of
animated.
our discussion about, like, well, is he still Hullen?
Or is he human now?
And I think that he is human.
Because what we can gather from what you've stated in our discussions and in our reaction is he is the memory pulled out of the green, and he's been captured by the lady. But does that make him the Hullen version, or does that make him just a human version now? And they haven't directly answered that, but you already get the feeling of he's possibly the human version because of he is feeling things. Like, you see him not just with rage, but with fear and anxiety and sadness. And just Rob Stewart is so good at playing Klein as this regal, elegant man who's very elusive, but nonetheless watchable and riveting. But now we're seeing that character stripped of all of those elements. Like, he's cornered in this episode.
Yeah, but he's still trying to position himself. He is still trying to figure out, how do I work with what I have?
Are you trying to make a bargain, Klein?
Yes.
Then choose carefully, because you can only save one. Your daughter or your grandson.
You know who I choose.
On our rating system of Yum being bad and Yum Yum being good, what would you give this?
I give this a yum yum.
Yum yum.
It is a fantastic episode of television, and it is a very, very high up there episode of Killjoys.
I am exactly at the same place. This is a yum yum.
Yum yum.
Do you want to hear what the name of the third episode of the season is?
I do.
And then make your predictions on what will be happening in that episode.
Yes.
We are going to be talking about 3 Killjoys and a lady. Good one. Good one.
Oh, I really like that. That's fun. It's not like I'm not too sure what that means for the plot of that episode specifically, because, you know, much of our time recently has been 3 Killjoys and a lady.
But we have the lady.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think that means? What do you think is going to be happening in the next episode?
I don't know.
With everything we're left off with,
they're gonna get taken to the Armada ship. Like, they're gonna come face to face with the lady.
any other thoughts?
I do wonder if we are going to switch to checking in on Dutch. I do wonder if we're gonna check in on Anila, because we still haven't seen or heard from her.
And we don't know what's happening with Dulcea and Jack either. They've flown off. So
Somewhere. They were on a very long trip.
yes, they were on a long journey away and they had a plan. So you think next episode is about bringing our Team Awesome Force into the same room as the lady and potentially checking in or actually addressing what's happened to Anila. So we'll have to wait and see. Until then, you can find us on your social medias of choice under yumyumpod or yumyumpodcast. You can rate, review, and share the podcast around. We are on all of the podcasting sites, YouTube included. If you head on over there, you can see our reactions, as already mentioned. And if you have the means to support the podcast, where can people do that at, Rachel?
That is on patreon.com.
Yum Yum Podcast on Patreon. It would be greatly appreciated if you could. You get to be a part of a community Discord as well. But other than that, we have to head off now. Why, Rachel?
Why?
Because the sepsis is about to set in because Dutch didn't sew us up. She just put duct tape over our wounds.
And a little bit of gauze.
And a little bit of gauze, but there's no town doctor now. Potter's dead.